it smells so clean and fresh. Guess what? It doesn't smell clean and fresh. It smells like freaking chemicals because clean and fresh smells like nothing.
Welcome to the Women Rockin' Midlife Podcast, soulful wellness to elevate your second act. You deserve to deeply love every moment of your life, living your best life with pure joy, optimal health and abundance, with the energy, time, and inner peace to savor experiences with your loved ones and with yourself. Hi, I'm Jen Kunkel. Join me on this soulful journey to complete wellness in midlife and beyond.
Do you trust the system? The doctors, the government, the agencies that are supposed to protect you, pharmaceutical companies. Do you trust this establishment to make sure that you get everything you need for the best menopause experience and to make sure that it's all safe and it works? Well, I don't. I believe the system is quite corrupt, and we'll talk about why and what you can do instead of trusting the system. I know this is a bold statement to say that a corrupt system is making your menopause worse, or it could be. I truly believe that we have a lot of corruption in all levels of the system that we kind of go through life just assuming is protecting us. You know, every time you go to the store and you buy a product, you drive on the streets, you're trusting, you go to the doctor, you're breathing the air, you're trusting the system, you're drinking the water from your local water source, you're trusting the system. And I have big concerns about that. I think we need to really advocate for ourselves. We need to look out for ourselves. We need to look at what's really going on here. And don't just assume that something is readily available. It must be safe. Oh, they wouldn't sell this in the stores if it wasn't safe. Oh, they wouldn't be able to prescribe this medication if it wasn't safe. It wouldn't be on the market if it wasn't safe. I actually don't believe that's true. There's so many examples of that not being true. And that companies will put the bottom line, money, over public safety, over people's well-being, over their health. And, even the legal definition of something being safe is so different than maybe your own personal criteria. It's definitely different than my personal criteria. The establishment conditions us to trust a corrupt system that lies to us to make more money while making us sick. Our food system is filled with untested ingredients. We're the guinea pigs. These ingredients are being tested on us, especially in the US. In the US, ingredients can be included as long as they haven't been proven not safe. In Europe, their guidelines are different. I don't know exactly how stringent they are, but I know that anything that might be questionable does need to be. It's the opposite, where they've got to show that this is safe before they can include it. And I think that's a better way to do it. Every ailment here, it's labeled a disease so they can justify pushing their drugs that have deadly side effects, cause addiction, and destroy lives, just so they can make more money. The government agencies that we're told protect us actually collaborate with industry for their best interest, not ours. We're conditioned to believe that we need the establishment for everything and that we have no power over our own well-being. And it's not true. How does this affect you? Well, a lot of these chemicals and these ingredients are affecting your endocrine system. And your endocrine system is the system in your body that produces hormones and that balance each other out with the hormones. Okay, so that's the part of your system that seems like it's going wonky with menopause. And sometimes it does for some people, and sometimes it doesn't for other people. Why is that? Is it genetics? Is it environment? I think it's both. In this episode, I really want to focus more on the conditioning, though, on how, we got to start looking at things a little bit differently. First of all, you've got to take responsibility. And I want you to start seeing through this thin veil of what they want us to believe. They want us to just believe that if it's on the shelf, it must be safe. And that's not true. Also, here's another really big one that kind of gets me. I'm actually really sensitive to chemical smells. So, this one really bothers me because people believe that let me just ask you this. When you hear smells clean and fresh, what do you think of? You're probably thinking of, oh, like think of the commercials where they pull the towel out of the dryer. Oh, it smells so clean and fresh. Guess what? It doesn't smell clean and fresh. It smells like freaking chemicals because clean and fresh smells like nothing. It doesn't smell like anything. It doesn't smell like that perfume smell. So, all these commercials over the years that are advertising laundry detergent and air fresheners, they are brainwashing you to believe that that's what clean smells like. That's what clean and fresh smells like. It doesn't. Clean and fresh smells like nothing. What you're smelling is chemicals. You are going to have to unbrainwash yourself on that one because it's hard because I talk to people in my life about that. I'm like, that isn't clean. Cuz you know, oh, they'll smell. Oh, that doesn't smell clean. Like I like to use more natural stuff and it doesn't I don't like scented anything because that's extra chemicals anything anyways, if I'm going to use something that's kind of chemically, there's a lot of options out there now. And be careful because even the ones that say, oh, eco friendly or all natural, you still have to be really careful. Yeah, the laundry detergent's a tricky one. So, um, I went down a rabbit hole years ago on the laundry detergent on what to use, and I don't actually have like a best practices solution. There's these things called soap nuts, which are natural from a tree, which I have yet to try, but that's probably the most natural thing. Anyway, if you're not using all those chemical things, there are detergents available that say they don't have fillers and they don't have this and they don't have that, and I have jumped around from different ones. So I don't unfortunately I don't have like this is the one you need to use. So look into that and find what works for you. But just keep in mind that that clean and fresh smell is that's just chemicals. And a lot of these chemicals can actually cause problems with your health, including issues with your endocrine system, disrupting your endocrine system. Do you remember that movie? I think of this all the time when I'm talking about this. Do you remember that movie from the 70s, The Incredible Shrinking Woman with Lily Tomlin? And what it turned out to, so she just started shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and she got like really small. And she was going to the doctor, what's wrong, what's wrong? But she like literally shrunk to like tiny, like it was absurd kind of. But what ultimately the diagnosis was, if I recall correctly, is it was all the products she was using, and the combination of all the products that she used like had some effect where it made her shrink. Obviously, that's pretty extreme, and I don't anticipate that being very realistic, but it's interesting that Hollywood portrayed, that in the 70s. That's been a long time now. Your endocrine system regulates your hormones, and a lot of these chemicals, if you look them up, so there's this great website called the Environmental Working Group, EWG.com, and they have this database. You can look up any ingredient, you can look up a lot of products, and you can do some research yourself and see, like look up your laundry detergent, and it gives you different ratings on you know, how detrimental these things could be. It also tells you if there's just not a lot of data, because sometimes there's just not a lot of data because nobody's studying it because they don't have to. So, another question, when you think of breakfast cereals, you probably know the sugary, colorful ones. Those aren't the best, right? But do you really consider how bad they are? Now, I know your kids aren't dealing with menopause, but like health starts at the beginning, right? It's just like a really obvious example of conditioning, too. So, those cereals are all over the shelves. Kids eat them all the time. Commercials promoting them are everywhere on all the time. And that's basically brainwashing. They're brainwashing, hey, this is the thing to eat for breakfast. So, if a kid in your care, or if you're even looking like, okay, I've got like this Fruit Loops or whatever tricks or Lucky Charms or honey, whatever your cereal is, your sugary cereal over here, and you've got a donut over here. Are you, in your mind, are you thinking, "Ugh, the cereal's obviously the better choice. A donut, that's like a treat, right?" But when you really logically think about it, what's the difference? You've got this processed sugary cereal over here, and you've got this sugary donut, which may or may not be processed. If you get it from a real bakery where they're making their stuff from scratch, that donut's probably better for you, right? But that's not what instantly comes to your mind when you first think about the choice between sugary cereal and a donut. I know it's not, because I've been there. So the colors, flavors in anything, cereal, whatever, the artificial colors, the artificial flavors, even the ones that are labeled natural colors and natural flavors, those can also disrupt the endocrine system, because the definition of what they have to put for natural flavors is that it has to be derived from something natural, but they can be like combined. I don't even know why there's a difference. It's kind of weird. Everything ultimately is derived from something natural, I suppose. Yeah, so you even have to be careful with the natural colors and natural flavors. That does not automatically mean, I could probably do a whole episode on that whole topic right there with the flavorings and the colorings. So I'm not going to go too deep in it now. Just know that that does not mean that it's good and that it's safe. Next question. All right, when you think of taking over the counter medications, how much do you actually consider the side effects of those? Because you might be able to tell I'm having some congestion issues. So I was looking at allergy and cold medications for myself the other day. I rarely take anything. I rarely will even take an aspirin or ibuprofen or any of that stuff. I like to do things naturally. I use a lot of essential oils and garlic and, just teas or whatever. So I rarely take them, but I was really getting desperate because I've been very congested for a long time. The funny thing is, though, little side note here where that ended up is for a couple days I was taking some medications and I did feel better for a little bit, but then it seemed like they stopped working and it got worse. And I went back to the natural things and then suddenly, felt better. Like I said, I rarely take them. I was getting desperate. So I was looking up all the side effects because I had all these different options. I had like Benadryl, Claritin, Sudafed, and there was something else. Mucinex. So I had those options. So I was looking up all the different side effects. Some are very, very scary. Very scary. I won't get into it all because I don't want this episode to go on forever. We take these medications, though, and because we're getting them off the shelf, and we just see them advertised all the time. In our heads, it's like, oh, it must be safe, right? I think a lot of times we just don't really think about that. We take these medications, we give them to kids, the kids' versions of them, and we do it really without thinking because they're so readily available. So some of the side effects, by the way, involved the endocrine system, thyroid issues. That seems to be like a really big thing for a lot of chemicals is the thyroid stuff. We think this about a lot of things. We think that if it's readily available, we can just get it off the shelf, over the counter, even if the doctor prescribes it. Oh, well, my doctor prescribed it, so it must be okay. No, not necessarily. The truth is, we do not know what all these chemicals are doing to our bodies. We don't know what they're doing combined. Incredible Shrinking Woman. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not even hinting at that. But what is happening? How are these chemicals combining in our body when we consume lots of things? How are they reacting with our biochemical processes that are not intended? Our biochemical processes, our bodies were not designed to be exposed to these chemicals. They weren't designed to consume them, for sure. And we need to really think about that. So in the US, these ingredients can usually be included in products unless they've been proven unsafe. And other countries do it the other way around. But having regulation that doesn't really protect you from potential problems, that's almost worse than having no regulation at all. Because if you had no regulation at all, at least you'd know this isn't regulated. We need to look into it. So we're conditioned to believe that the government's looking out for us and that these agencies that oversee these industries are protecting us. But really, those agencies are filled with people from the industry. We call that the revolving door. So it's important to recognize the conditioning and break it for your health and your well-being in general, and then in menopause and for the rest of your life. If you want to hear from me, get on my VIP insider list. If you want to learn about my program Hormonal Harmony Quest, the links will be below.